There's a woman who's been doing this work with power animals, and she calls it CMR. And it's becoming quite popular in North America. I'll just write CMR up here. I can't remember what CMR stands for. But she got one of my favorite neuroscientists, Ruth Lanius, to spend a day with her. And she brought 6 volunteers, and she had Ruth Lanius look at their default mode network, which we have not yet learned about. But our default mode network is our brain's automatic voice. It's the way our brain works automatically. It's part of every human. It comes online maybe even before birth. It continues until the day we die. And it's what our brain does whenever we stop using our brain consciously. And the default mode network is affected very strongly by trauma. And what happens when we have trauma, do you see here, self as part of trauma is part of what gets written in the trauma experience by the amygdala. When people have had trauma, they tend to have a critical or even very cruel default mode network to themselves. So the internal voice goes over and over again. You're not good enough. You're not a good person. You're not kind. You don't matter. That was stupid. Why did you say that? It's just there's a constant self-commentary that can be very critical. That's part of trauma experiences. And visually, we can see this now. In an MRI machine, you can see a traumatized default mode network. So Ruth Lanius did 6 MRIs with these volunteers and saw the traumatized default mode network. And with each of the volunteers, the woman who's doing CMR then did the process with them, which is very much like our time travel empathy, but instead of traveling with a resonating self-witness, people are traveling with a very kind and strong and protective power animal. And then coming back to present time with the power animal. So again, it's so similar to the work that we do. The only difference is this lovely animal spirit instead of a resonating self-witness. And you're all welcome to turn your resonating self-witnesses into beautiful, protective, strong animals. Then she did the MRIs again at the end of the day, and what she saw was that the default mode networks of the volunteers had changed. This work that we do of going and accompanying our unaccompanied selves changes the way the brain works. And we're physically changing the way brains operate, the way they work, the way they're capable of holding us. It brings us much more kindness and space to breathe. So I haven't yet stumbled across anybody doing the vow work who's got a friend who's a neuroscientist who will do the MRIs, but my fingers are crossed that someday that will be me. Lanius, she's the woman Ruth Lanius is a researcher who's done a lot about trauma and PTSD and the default mode network. Ruth Lanius. PTSD. The brain and PTSD.